Ashton here, servicing animation information, and today we'll be reviewing the anime Blue Lock. Blue Lock is a 24-episode anime written by Muneyuki Kaneshiro and illustrated by Yusuke Nomura. The story starts in 2018 when Japan loses the World Cup. They end up in the 16th round where they lose to, I can't remember the team, but they do end up recruiting this gentleman named Ego. Ego is actually set to find the best striker in the world by examining students, bringing them in this big auditorium test subject place where he is actually setting these trials just to get these guys to compete with one another and to create Blue Lock. Enter Yoichi Sagi. Yoichi is recruited by Ego, who is set out to be the best striker there is. Everyone's goal within this encampment is just to compete with one another, to be teammates with one another, and to fight until the end to be the best striker, to be recruited into Japan's next World Cup in 2022, which they lost. Spoiler. Ego is also not a character in this. Ego is what everyone's psyche is, just to be the best, and that's what fuels them to be the best. There's a lot of internal dialogue that separates the person from the ego and how to really use that ego to become the individual striker. And that is what Ego, the person himself, is evaluating the most. Who has the proper controlled ego, who's able to use their utilities and abilities while also being able to strike and be the best goal scorer there is. It's a lot of mental, internal, and dialogue that's going on. There's so much that you get from a first-person perspective from each character, especially Isagi, one of the best MCs in a while I've seen, and thank goodness he was introduced into a story like this because he's not the typical, I'll just say what you do. He's very methodical, very thought out, and I think that's what strives him to be one of the best. I mean, one of the best characters in this show. It's like everybody is working around him, followed by Meguru, Rin, Ryo, Bairo, Nagi, all of these people that have really good talent, while you see Isagi trying to be the best he can with the talents that he has. Given he's not the best striker, he may not be the best control ball handler, he may not have the best reach, but what makes him so unique in this story is with the abilities that he has, he's able to improve on it. He's constantly watching, he's very methodical. It's like he has eyes in the back of his head to be able to find who he's looking for within the field. Again, a lot of sports, from just my experience, doesn't take really physical attributes, but a lot of the mental attributes. I mean, if you use really famous sports people, for example, famous Tom Brady, he was not even in the top 10 in his overall draft class. He had one of the worst 40s in the combine during his time, but he strived to be the best because he had the best heart, he had the best brain, and everybody was working around his system just because of he was put in on a third string out of nowhere. I mean, it's not hard to see why you want to root for such a low fundamental main character, yet you see the abilities and the attributes and a lot of the internal dialogue just come from within and just put that into full fruition. He's constantly expanding, moving up, and oh my goodness, I love this show. I do love this show. Isagi, a lot of his gut-risking takes, a lot of the people that he interacts with, a lot of the gut riskers that he interacts with, a lot of just people that kind of want to drain his mental psyche, yet he keeps fighting on, and you see and you root and you want more and more and more and more. Oh man, what a good show.
俺のエリアはそこにあるのにあと一歩が足りねえ俺に出せいいパスだったじゃん。下手くそ。お前は俺のゴールのために動け。
What separates the show from a lot of other places too is it's constantly feeding you with really good nail-biting moments. From Isagi losing out to some of these people, you see the frustration that comes from it. You feel the frustration that comes from it, and you keep rooting for him to want to continue more. From his losses to his wins, you see the inability that comes with it. They really do a good job of anticipating what it takes to get to the next step. You see a lot of these antagonists team up with these protagonists, and then you see a lot of these protagonists become antagonists, and man, it's nice. It's a really good change of pace. I personally like to see a lot of shows that come out of sports that have this different mental that's constantly flowing and moving through it. Again, Isagi, one of the best characters, a lot of really good antagonists to push the main character, a lot of good protagonists to push him as well, and a lot of good internal learning and ability to push himself further to the next point. Again, I can't help but to keep cheering for Usagi on the sidelines, and that's exactly what it feels like. You're a fan in this empty auditorium, and you get to see this personalized soccer game with some of the best strikers in the world. Man, I love this show. Great characters. You get to see a lot of internal development from these side characters. You're not given a whole episode with one side character, antagonist, protagonist, who actually means everything to the story. You're given at least a good maximum 10 minutes of one of these protagonists slash antagonists, and boom, you move on. It's constantly moving. It's like they're not trying to overdo the animation so that the animators are killing themselves. It's just enough animation to give Asagi and the rest of everybody on the field enough movement so that they have the next course of action coming without having a bad pacing behind it. Again, you have really good animators, really good animation, really good internal dialogue, really good characters. There's a lot of unique story behind this as well, and it's kind of cynical what something like this would be in a real life scenario. I mean, you isolate people from their families just so they can chase one of their most precious dreams to them. And I think we can all relate to that in some way. Shoot, wouldn't be here. I mean, Isagi's the man. I don't know what else to say beyond that. I think if anything, sometimes a lot of like the animation and a lot of the pieces that are coming together don't really fit the narrative. I say that like the puzzle pieces. I get that you're wanting to see a lot of this internal dialogue come from Isagi, but they kind of repeat it sometimes. Not to mention, when it does slow down, it does tend to kind of just loop in these slower stories that just kind of feel this not so much tension behind it, which is a good tension release in my opinion. But I don't know, you could create like some sort of side story behind it, maybe have a little bit more come from everybody else within the council rather than just have them just to create a problem, just to create antagonists or just to create another issue for everybody. Feels a little forced sometimes, but again, with these colorful and vibrant scenes, I think it does make up for those slowed down, those unnecessary moments that do come with it. Maybe just add a little bit more from the side characters, a little bit more tension, how everyone gets from point A to point B. But again, with so much tension between the internal dialogue from every character, it's like you can move past that. It's like just extra stuff that's just not really needing to be there. Where you want to see more of the characters on the field, you don't want to see as much of the tension outside of what's happening from the field. It's exciting, it's colorful, it's vibrant, it's flowing. The colors are something you've never seen before. And for an anime that's given something out of sports, I think it does a good job and a bold job of just setting an example of how animators and animation can create different stories within different animations and within different timelines and within a really good present to now moment. Not having to copy and paste a lot of stuff, but you're given characters that you can actually click to, characters you can find that you love more than one another, and you're always cheering for Isagi, whatever he's on. At least I am. Again, for a lot of the stopping points that could be a bit more memorable, they do a really good job of just making you remember each character and wanting to bond with each character accordingly. 8 across the board. This show is fantastic. This show deserves an 8. Everything that it does, all the attention that it gets. I think they really did hit something on the head whenever they decided to pre-release it right before the World Cup. And season 1, season 2, both 8s across the board, no questions asked. Man, good story writing, good characters. I can't wait to see what happens in the upcoming season. I think hasn't been announced yet, but I can tell you, yeah, there's a lot that needs to go on within the story. So thank you for watching this episode of Cisco Bang. If you did enjoy this episode of Cisco Bang, please drop some recommendations down below. Watch it, read it, anime, I want to hear some more opinions, some more comments, some more likes, some more subscribes, and I hope to see you in the next episode. I know you've already heard, but please, please, please drop those comments so that we can start this giveaway, and we will see you in the next episode. We have some exciting ones coming up. Looks at the board, and I can't wait to review them. Let's review them together. Watch, read, Forever and Ever, Cisco Bang, Blue Lock, Isagi Yoichi. Goodbye.